A party of Southern soldiers refused to appropriate a pair of Federal gloves, by S.C. Turnbo. It was not common in Civil War days for a war party to refuse to appropriate any property, be it little or big, if it belonged to the enemy and they were in reach of it. The following account was furnished me by Dave Fee of Peel, Arkansas, who in war times was a soldier on the Southern side and belonged to Captain Ben Ivy's company and Colonel Schnavel's battalion. One day in the month of December, 1864, he said, after the Price raid into Missouri, I and 3 other members of our battalion were on a scouting expedition over near Jonesboro, but we were in Cross County, Arkansas. Rations for ourselves and forage for our horses was exceedingly scarce with us, and near noon we began to look for something to eat and feed our almost exhausted animals. As we rode along Crowley's Ridge, we came to a house that had a fine prospect of furnishing us with food for ourselves and corn for our jaded horses. And we rode up to the yard gate and halted and found there was no one there except a lady of the house and some children. We asked the woman what the chance was to get our dinners and have our horses fed there. Now she replied kindly that we could dismount and take our horses to the barn and feed them, and that she would prepare dinner for us. And knowing that we were Confederates, she informed us that her husband was in the Federal Army and that 2 of her brothers belonged to the Confederate Army, and it was her desire to treat both sides as nigh right as she was able to. She said that if a Federal soldier came along and was hungry, she divided her edibles with him, and she did the same with Southern men. She said that she treated both sides alike, or as near as equal as she could. When we went to the barn, we found plenty of corn to feed our horses, and when she announced dinner, we found plenty on the table, and we fared sumptuously. Now, when we finished our dining, we asked the lady our bill, and she said nothing and refused to have pay for her trouble for preparing dinner for us, and neither would she charge us anything for the corn we give our horses. Now after we had finished eating dinner, we soldiers retired to the sitting room to rest and wait for our horses to get done eating before starting out again. On going into the room, we saw a nice pair of buckskin gloves lying on the mantelboard. They were military gloves and belonged to the woman's husband. Now we all stood in need of a pair of gloves, but we could not afford to take this pair. But we all tried them on in our hands to see how they would look and fit our hands, and then we laid them back on the mantelpiece. Now if the woman acted very cold toward us, or told us that her 2 brothers belonged to the Federal Army there too, there is no doubt that the gloves would have been with us. But as it was, we would not stoop so low to take them, and went away with a kind feeling for her and her husband as well as for her brothers.